Welcome everyone to the game between the China number 1 player Wei Yi, who takes fort at the FIDE Candidates 2026. One of the most calm, cool and composed players in the world of chess, Wei Yi made it to the candidates by finishing second at the FIDE World Cup in Goa, India in 2025. And what an amazing performance that was. Today he takes on Praggnanandhaa. It's going to be India versus China, just like the World Championship match versus Gukesh and Ding. And there you have Pragg coming in with his second Vaibhav Suri. And we had put a ChessBase India camera there, and Pragg was like, hey, look, there's a camera there. Pragg enters in. He has had an amazing start to this tournament with a win against Anish Giri in round 1. Never easy to start off with wins in a tournament like Candidates. So definitely he would be feeling upbeat. And that's Dai Shangren and Bai Jinshi, two of the seconds of Wei Yi who are here. And they just came with Wei Yi to the playing hall to wish him good luck and are now going back to the room. Wei Yi versus Pragg, we can expect some very interesting opening ideas because both of them big opening experts, and I'm actually curious to see what they have cooked up at home. The players are ready, a handshake here, and we are ready to rock and roll. What will be Wei Yi's first move? Pawn to e4 he plays. And now, will Pragg play the Sicilian? He doesn't play it too often. I think e5 is his main weapon here, and most likely he'll go for that. No, he goes e6. He goes for the French defense. Wow. Pawn to d4. And now just pawn to d5. We will have the French defense. Pragg looking at the big screen behind him to see what others have played. The French defense is the same opening that Arjun had played against Wei Yi at the FIDE World Cup. This, dear friends, is the Lotus Chess game of the day. Lotus Chess is someone who supported us greatly in our coverage of the candidates. You can check out their app. It's amazing. You can actually learn a lot of openings based on the ones that you want to learn, that you use in your games, with very interesting interactive format that they have. So do check it out. The link is in the description to download the app for Android and iOS. Okay, back to the game. Knight to c3 played here by Wei Yi. And Pragg, he brings his knight out to f6. Wei Yi pushes the pawn forward, pawn to e5. And Praggnanandhaa now brings his knight back to d7. He's going to strike on the queen side with c5. But you can already feel it that white has very nice space in the center. You go pawn to c5. And now knight to f3. Knight c6. This is normal stuff. Knight to f3 played. Pragg brings his knight out to c6. And Wei Yi brings his bishop to e3. So white has a very powerful center. The only issue you can see, and bishop e7 slightly lesser played than the moves like, let's say, a6 here and so on. Queen d2 played. Wei Yi is actually maybe thinking about long castle. Brings his queen up, a6 now. And now long castle would be a mistake because of c4. And black gets a very good play on the queen side. So he plays bishop to d3. And one thing you notice is that this d4 pawn is unsupported. You don't have the pawn on c3. Castles, by the way, pawn takes here, knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, bishop at 7 is a very risky line here. But Wei Yi, of course, knows that if Pragg is playing this at the candidates, he doesn't want to get into that territory at all. He simply castles here, keeps the position safe. But now Pragg can actually play simply pawn to f6. which is a good move. You can see Pragg's time. He has 1:52 on the clock. Meanwhile, Wei Yi down to 1 hour 35 minutes. Pawn to f6 played. And now Wei Yi takes, e takes on f6. And this is a very big decision by Wei Yi, because after knight f6, Pragg now can get his knight to the e4 square. Yes, the e5 square is a bit weak, the e6 pawn is a bit weak, but that shouldn't be an issue. King h1, so that he can take, and after d4 takes, bishop takes, queen takes, doesn't come with a check. And here Pragg goes b6, knight to e5 played by Wei Yi. Pragg quickly gets his queen to c7. He defends the knight here on c6, also looks at the knight in the center of the board. And rook a to e1, centralizing the rook. Bishop comes out to d6. And now, because the pressure on d4 was mounting, he takes on c6. Because look at this, this was the tactic. If pawn takes, knight takes. If you take on e3, there is knight e7 check. So that's the reason why bishop d6, and now takes. He brings his bishop back to e2. Wei Yi is rerouting his bishop to f3. That's his plan. And Pragg goes rook a7 with the idea of swinging the rook over to f7. The bishop comes up to f3. And now rook a f7 played. He's doubling the rooks on the f file. And f5 played. Now what Pragg could have done is, instead of doing rook a7, he could have gone c4 with the idea of b5, b4, bishop d7, bishop e8, bishop g6, these plans. But when he went rook a7, he's allowed f5, and now he has to play c4. But this is allowed white to get the move f5, bishop g5. Suddenly you will see that the pieces who are doing nothing much are doing everything. And Pragg has to be very creative, and he plays bishop b4. Queen comes to e2, putting pressure on e6. Pragg chops off the knight on c3. So if you take b takes c3, then after e takes f5, you are a pawn up as black. So he first takes on e6, attacking the rook on f7. Rook comes to e7. And now b takes c3. And Pragg simply takes the pawn on e6, attacking the queen. You have queen to d2. And knight jumps into e4. Wei Yi takes the knight, rightly so. And Pragg first takes on f1, rook takes f1, rook takes f1. And we have an opposite colored bishop position. Well, black structure is very good, but somehow white simply gets bishop to f4. I like this move. So you're going to play your bishop to e5. Okay, you can pin here for the time being. It's possible. But I can simply move, simply find a way to unpin. Rook e7 played by Pragg. Bishop to e5. And now queen to g6 played, with the idea of rook f7. He goes queen f4. And black now, well, just has to take care of not getting checkmated in one move here. Plays rook f7. Pieces get traded. Queen takes f7. Queen takes f7. Rook takes f7. King takes. And this position is drawn because this opposite colored bishop, even though you will see that white for sure will lose a pawn, because the bishop comes here and attacks the pawn on c2. Wei Yi is not concerned one bit about it. Bishop f5, Pragg says, why not? Let me snatch the pawn. King f2. He takes bishop c2. And bishop to c7 played. Because what Wei Yi is now doing is he's making Pragg put all his pawns on light squares and then will control the dark squares with his pawns, like here a3. So there's just no way that progress can be made. King here, king e3. King f5. And pawn to h3. One can always learn from these players on how calmly they play. Wei Yi wants to put his pawn on g4, so Pragg stops it with pawn to h5. g3 played. When you are defending with opposite colored bishop position, it's a good idea to put the pawns on the same color as your bishop. When you're trying to win, then you need to put your pawns on the opposite color. So here it would have been nice if these pawns were on light squares. These pawns were on dark squares for black if he wants to win. But it's too difficult. That's the reason why Wei Yi tried doing this and h4 played. King comes up to g4. Wei Yi takes the pawn. King takes on g3. And now bishop to d8. I think the players know that this is going to be a draw. They're just playing this through. The main point here, of course, is that for the black king, there is no entry points. If you can get in like this, then you can win the game. But of course, the white king will stop it from happening. King g2, you can see Pragg making an attempt there, trying to get in to the white camp. But Wei Yi says, okay, Pragg, one more move you can try. You can try this, but I'm not going to allow you after this. So king f1, and now very careful. King e1. Just goes king d2, blocks it. King f2. And now you can just keep waiting with your bishop. Bishop e7. King f3. Bishop d8. And the players here can agree to a draw. It's been a hard-fought battle. Draw agreed between Wei Yi and Pragg. Pragg moves to 1.5 out of 2, keeps his lead as Caruana and Sindarov also drew their game. Wei Yi actually played a pretty nice game. Although one must kind of go to this point where Wei Yi brought his bishop back to e2. By the way, Pragg and Wei Yi are analyzing. And here, if Pragg had gone c4, I think Wei Yi would not have been in time for f5 at all. Let's say he goes bishop f3, b5, and with b4, a5 coming up, and this idea of bishop d7, bishop e8, bishop g6 that we mentioned, or even then transferring the rook would have been so nice. I think Pragg missed perhaps a small opportunity here, because when he played this way and allowed Wei Yi to go f5, his chances to win the game had been neutralized by Wei Yi. So that was the small point here, and you can see Pragg so interested in analyzing. For him, the candidates winning this tournament is important, but at the same time, learning is important as well. Wonderful to see Wei Yi and Pragg analyzing together. I hope you enjoyed this game. This is Sagar Shah signing off.